Thank you, Dean Boone, for that very kind introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. To the class of 2025, congratulations. I am truly honored to be here celebrating with you today. Now, I hear some of you kicked off the celebrations maybe a bit early with a fortifying breakfast at the 9-0. I can only imagine that I only hope that my speech will not be just as intoxicating, and it certainly won't leave your head pounding. More seriously, class of 2025, all 600 plus of you, you are the newest chapter in the history of the USC Price School of Public Policy. That story began in 1932, when 3 students earned the school's first ever undergraduate degrees. So let me tell you this. That small but mighty class didn't have it easy. When they received their diplomas, the stock market plummeted, tariffs on taxable imports skyrocketed to 60%, and as jobs vanished during the Great Depression, the US government drove around 1 million people of Mexican descent out of the country, over half of whom were American-born. Sound somewhat familiar? It's human nature to feel that what we're living through is somehow unprecedented, but history tells us otherwise. Every generation has faced its challenges. The class of 1932 confronted economic disorder with similarity to what we're experiencing today. In 1962, students graduated under the looming threat of nuclear war. In 1992, the Bosnian War erupted, as did riots right here in Los Angeles. The truth is, there's never been a graduating class of USC Price that didn't walk into fear, that wasn't forced to face some kind of uncertainty. No one gets a free pass through the hard stuff, but you wouldn't be sitting here today if you were expecting an easy pass. After all, this is a public policy school. So I think it's fair to say a lot of you applied here because you wanted to make a difference. Well, the good news is, there's definitely a difference to be made. Like every graduating class before you, the world's problems are your purpose, the world's cruelties, your call to action. For me, that call came through economics. Over the past 30 years, I've investigated questions in labor economics at Princeton, did 3 White House tours, including during the Great Recession and the COVID-19 pandemic, and now I lead a think tank dedicated to addressing societal challenges. As I've personally experienced, a career in public policy is not an easy one. It requires learning how to navigate hard times and how to sustain yourself through them. So from my time in academia, public service, and now the civil sector, here are my top 3 lessons. 1, it takes an idea to beat an idea. 2, there are only 24 hours in the day. And 3, always question inertia. So let's start with the first lesson. First, like in 1932, we're living through a fraught economic moment. For many Americans, the dream of upward mobility seems increasingly out of reach. The system seems rigged and everyday life has become too expensive. Consider a basic staple, a carton of eggs that cost $1.70 in 2018 now sells for about $6.20 today. The median price of a new home has soared past $400,000, and that's median, not luxury. And renters don't have it easy either. Nearly half spend more than 30% of their income on housing, a level considered financially unsustainable. Oh, and if you want to start a family, it now costs around $300,000 to raise a child to age 18, and that doesn't include the college tuition. Globally, most people now believe the next generation will be worse off than their parents. This growing sense of unfairness, that financial stability once achievable through hard work is slipping away, is one of the defining challenges of our time. The federal administration is trying to meet this challenge with new policy shifts in immigration, taxation, and tariffs. You might disagree with their approach. That's not only acceptable, that's essential. Healthy democracies depend on debate, on competing visions and differing perspectives. But no one is inspired to rally around a complaint. Screaming, "What they're doing sucks," is not a strategy. It's a dead end. It sucks the air out of the room and inspiration out of forward movement. If you really want to move the needle on today's issues, you have to offer an alternative. Your alternative may not be the ultimate solution, but it could spark conversation that generates momentum. As I said, it takes an idea to beat an idea. And with your world-class education from USC Price, I am sure you can come up with a few interesting ones, whether it's to fight economic insecurity, the housing crisis, the rising cost of childcare, or whatever issue you are most interested in. Okay, on to my second lesson. There are only 24 hours in a day. Deceptively simple, but inescapably true. We think that with ever-improving technology like ChatGPT or the illusion of multitasking, we can somehow beat time. But time is the hardest and most intractable of all constraints. And this constraint forces us all to make decisions, identify our highest priorities, do them well, and learn to give up things when we have to. I, for example, miss diving into all-consuming research. But at Brookings, my focus is on leading the institution because there are only 24 hours in a day. And I hope you will waste some of them. Nap a few hours away on the couch, stay up late, call your best friend, and always order dessert, especially if it involves chocolate. There are only 24 hours in a day for your work, yes, but also for you. And please don't forget that. You can't help others if you're winded yourself. Now my final lesson. Always question inertia. In physics, inertia is the tendency to keep doing exactly what you're doing unless an outside force intervenes. If we're not careful, life can work out the same way. So graduation ceremonies are one of the rare moments in life when society actually encourages you to follow your passions. Take risks. Embrace failure. If you started an internship tomorrow, you would likely be celebrated. But fast forward 10 or 20 years. You spent decades in finance, and suddenly you want to walk away. Maybe take an internship in a different field instead. Some people might smile and say, "Hey, good luck." Others might raise an eyebrow, roll their eyes, stifle a laugh. But please do it anyway. Their career path you're starting today might be the one you stay on for a lifetime, or not. Either way, each step of the way, I encourage you to question inertia. Not just at your graduation ceremony, but throughout your life. Make it a habit to ask yourself, am I spending my time on what truly matters to me, or just following what I think I'm supposed to do, the so-called logical next step? In my own career, rather than sticking to a rigid plan, when faced with a choice, I've generally selected the job that sounded the most interesting and challenging at the time, because it's never too late to question inertia, and it can be fulfilling to change direction. That's how I ended up as president of Brookings and why I'm here with you today. Not such a bad gig. But before I close, class of 2025, the class of 1932 has a final lesson, and they're insistent that I pass it along to you. 1932 was a year of crisis for our country, but it was also a precipice of possibility, a moment when ideas once dismissed as unrealistic suddenly became achievable. In 1933, the New Deal was born, radically expanding the role of the federal government in economic and social affairs. In 1935, the Social Security Act was signed. It's commonplace now, but at the time it was revolutionary. And also in the 1930s, prohibition came to an end, for which the 9-0 is most grateful. So, class of 2025, like the class of 1932, you're stepping into a world with no shortage of challenges. But challenges means there's work to be done, new ideas to be generated and debated, and with that, the chance to have a hand in shaping our collective future. I am confident that all 600 plus of you will make a difference, just like the USC Price graduates before you, each facing their own iteration of an uncertain world. I cannot wait to see what you will do next. Thank you, USC Price, for having me. And to the class of 2025, congratulations once again, and fight on.